Hey guys, just kind of wanted to touch base with you with another video to kind of dive into the actual weightlifting or the strength and conditioning program. So we are going to be using what's known as the Westside Conjugate system. It's a blend of former Soviet bloc, or specifically a club called the Dynamo Club, and a blend of what's known as the Bulgarian method. These are both methods are based in 1970s Eastern European and Soviet bloc training technologies, of which I would say even to this day, at least as it relates to the strength and performance sports, is still more advanced than anything we're using in the US. So with that, the Bulgarian method, I'll send you a video. They're older videos. The Bulgarians dominated the Olympic sport of weightlifting during the 60s, 70s, and their training methods, they dominated the Olympic sport of weightlifting, so clean and jerk and snatch. And their training methods, they had multiple training sessions a day. All of them were near max, so they had about 6 sessions a day. Every one of those days consisted of about 8 lifts, and each of those lifts were maximal lifts for whatever the variation of that exercise was. But it was a pulling, pressing type stuff with accessory movements, squats, etc. And they were all near maximal. And a lot of people are like, oh, well, you overworked them. You'll see in the video some of the challenges. And again, this is a 70s Eastern European, steel curtain type era where these folks were basically training ultimately for their well-being, and whether they got to eat and train and have a certain lifestyle that the government would provide them. So it's going to be a little bit different than probably what you're used to, but these people were quite literally training for a better life. And it wasn't overtraining from the standpoint of physical. It broke people mentally. Doing 8 maximal lifts 6 times a day mentally is very, very tough. So what Louis Simmons, the conjugate system that Louis Simmons, who just passed away, developed, which we're going to be using, he modified the Bulgarian system, which is going to be our max effort day, in order to train what we call absolute strength. And absolute strength means the maximal amount of load you can lift or force you can produce with the maximal amount of rest, is the scientific definition of absolute strength. So we are going to be using a upper body, lower body throughout the week, max lift or variation of that lift. That's the Bulgarian method. Now, on the Soviet side of things, we're going to be using a 3-week wave, which is going to wave up throughout the 3-week, and then we'll ultimately deload on the 4th week and change the bar and exercise. So this 3-week wave, how Louis came up with the loading and the optimal numbers of reps and sets was through a variety of sports scientists in the former Soviet bloc, and they determined through all of their measurement of 780 qualified lifters that over half of the time they did lifts between 75 and 85% of their 1 rep max, their actual measured 1 rep max, which for us will be on max effort day. Okay, and then we'll utilize that max effort day for the rest of the wave for lower body for 3 consecutive weeks, and then for upper body we're going to rotate it every week. Okay, for a variety of reasons, but for lower body it's extremely important. So what that does is it changes the stimulus, and it decreases the likelihood, or it doesn't even decrease, it totally prevents what we call accommodation, which is a natural law that basically says if you continue to do what you've always done, you're going to hit a plateau. Okay, and if you continue to do that, same deal, you'll actually regress. So that same stimulus that you would have used to technically benefit you will actually be hurting you. So we will constantly be rotating or waving things to where the actual weight on the bar and the actual total load and what we call volume load, or the amount of reps, sets, and load multiplied together, you'll get a number, we'll call it foot-pounds, and that'll wave throughout the week and actually go up and down, so where your body's not able to get used to it. And there's a saying that, to truly adapt to training is never to adapt to training, which means that you'll just continue to grow because there will always be a change. And if that stimulus we're using doesn't help you, then we just change it. So there'll be tons of exercises that we tinker with, and if it doesn't help you in the areas that we're trying to improve, then we just get rid of it. And what works for me may not work for you, and vice versa. So I don't want you to get frustrated by anything, but I have to imagine, just based off of people that I've worked with in the past, I have a pretty good idea on what's going to work and what's not. And so maybe 1 out of every 10 things we program is going to be like, let's stay away from that. But as we go through time, we're going to have a variety of special exercises on the Soviet end of things, which allow us to continue to improve. So with that 3-week wave, if we call the Bulgarian side our max effort method, the Soviet side of it's going to be our dynamic effort method, which we're going to lift submaximal loads at maximal attainable velocity. So as fast as you can move it with good form. Okay, that's going to be max effort and dynamic. We're going to do 1 upper body, 1 lower body, both max effort and dynamic effort per week. And then we're going to sprinkle in special exercises each of those days, depending on your weaknesses and whether it's an upper body or lower body day. And that's what we call repetition effort method. And you're going to see a lot of these methods that are thrown out here. These are the only 3 we're going to use right now, okay, because we'll get the most benefit from it. So we'll use those methods. And if we're going to break it down percentage wise, this program is going to be 20% bar, okay, so a main barbell lift, 80% special exercises, okay, and lower body day, we'll use glutes, hamstrings, low back predominantly. We'll work whatever muscle group is the weakest or you suck at the most. We'll hit that first because you'll be the most rested, and then the things you're stronger at we'll do later on. So we usually do between, I'll say 10, 12 to 20 sets at the end of our workout after we do our main barbell movement. Okay, that repetition effort method we will do. So we will do maybe 4 sets of low back, 4 sets of glutes, 4 sets of hamstrings. That'll be 12 sets. We'll be done unless we have jumping that day. Okay, so between that dynamic effort method and if we do dynamic effort method that day, we do a general warm up real quick. We get under the bar, bang out our sets, okay, which will be, rest will be timed. Then we will transition to our special exercises. You'll knock all those out, and we may do jumps. And we'll do jumps twice a week. Okay, so we'll have our general weightlifting plan, and we'll do jumps, either vertical or horizontal jumps as well. So it's going to be designed right now as a 4-day-a-week program. Depending on your weaknesses and the feedback I get from you, we may add some mini workouts either at the end of that day that we work out or on the following day. But just trust on the fact that the way the program's designed, it maximizes recovery relative to what we call intense workouts. So any of the max effort, dynamic effort days, we're going to classify as intense workouts, which requires 72 hours of rest before we repeat that, upper body or lower body. That's pretty much it on that. We'll probably, to start out, probably somewhere around 20 or 30 jumps. All will be weighted, and everything will be done with specialty bars and everything else. So we won't necessarily do a traditional back squat, bench press, deadlift. We'll use a specialty bar. We'll vary the height. We'll vary the rest periods. We'll do a lot of different things to make sure that your body never adapts so that you'll continue to grow. And one thing, I could dive into this, but overall, one of the main things that I think that lifting coach or strength and conditioning coaches miss the bus on is they don't monitor the volume and the intensity properly. And I don't want you to think from the standpoint of how heavy things are that we're lifting. I want you to think of how fast we move them. So we're going to think of things in terms of time and velocity, not in load. So I don't want you to be like, oh yeah, it was 800 pounds. I don't really care about that because we're going to be switching bars so much. The weights are going to be different, but the velocity at which you move that, because it's going to be a relative percentage of your 1 rep max on that bar, you're going to move that bar relatively the same speed as you would the other bar. So say you have a straight bar back squat, a safety squat bar back squat, and a front squat with a straight bar. All those loads are going to be different on your max. We're going to take a percentage of those, okay? And then the speed at which you move those throughout those waves are going to be almost identical, but the load's going to be different because every one of those maxes is either higher or lower. It's just different, based on the bar position on your body, etc. So one thing that I would say, just from a volume standpoint, you're going to be looking at approximately 20 to 30 lifts of dynamic effort. So submaximal loads at maximal attainable speed, we're looking at about 20 to 30 reps or lifts per week.
Yes.
Maximal, we're going to be looking at, for absolute strength, we're going to be looking at about 3 to 4 maximal lifts per week, upper body and lower body. So your ratio, or the relative volume, is going to be approximately 10 to 1. Okay, and I won't dive into the math too much, but all this is very, very based, I'm a science guy, is all based on physics. Force equals mass times acceleration, work is force time distance, power is work divided by time. All those things, I plug all those equations in and try to create a very, very dense workout where we're moving at speeds that train and carry over to your sport. Okay, and all of those relative percentages and the volumes and stuff equate to beneficial performance long term. But the workout's important, but your ability to recover before the next intense workout is king. So even though you might feel like you're ready, I think the Whoop technology, utilizing that, in my opinion, even though, again, I haven't used it day in and day out, that's going to give you feedback on whether you're ready to go or not. And out the gate, you may have lower scores on that than you would like. So as we get better, you'll probably see those scores improve as you see how much rest, how much volume, etc., that you can do. So another thing I want to talk about just real quick, because I'm looking at about 13 minutes right now, and I just want to do raw video. I really don't have a lot of extra time to edit a lot of this stuff. Is in my opinion, why you started to have some of the arm problems and stuff that you had. Okay, so one of the things, and again, I didn't reinvent the wheel on anything that I train my folks to do. I just tried to speed it up and make it go faster. Okay, that's it. So almost nothing is uniquely mine. It's borrowed, stolen, whatever it is you want to call it. And it's been used a variety of times by myself and at the highest levels. But with regards to your arm problems, you were overworked, in my opinion, because usually when your body starts to break down, you have pain and or borderline injury, is that you're asked to do something that your body is not prepared capacity-wise to address. And then you continually do that over a period of time, one of two things happens. Okay, usually it's an injury. And when real good athletes that are really fast and strong and explosive, they don't break kind of, oh yeah, I tweaked something. They break bad, like like Tommy John surgery bad and stuff like that. So with that, I actually pulled a quote from Louis out of his throwing manual, which he wrote. And again, I'm going to be pulling a lot of stuff from a lot of different places, but all of my stuff's going to be based in former Soviet bloc, Eastern European, Bulgarian methods, and then some of the newer stuff that some of the other folks are using. But Louis said, the biggest mistakes a throwing sport coach can make is to weight train and then abandon the weight training as you move on to outdoor season when you will only throw. And it makes no sense, just like I was talking about block periodization in the past, to build a certain quality of strength and then abandon it. And for real good athletes, that typically dissipates, like on top of the line, world-class athletes, in about 72 hours. you'll see a detraining effect. So like a college-age athlete, you're probably going to see it in about a week or two. So for you to train a whole off season, 12 weeks, 15 weeks, 24 weeks, whatever it is, a half a season, and then abandon that as the season goes on, you will see that that athlete will become weaker and slower and more prone to injury. And so what we're going to do is throughout the season, I think you're going to see very early on in this how good it is. And then throughout the season, we will modify it and push the GPP and some of the sports specific and special strengths that you'll end up seeing like really good results. So with that, I don't have anything really else to say. I'm at going on 16 minutes, and this will take forever to download if I don't shut up. So that's about it, man. Hope all's well, and I'll chat you later. Peace.